afternoon, good evening. Technical difficulty, one moment. Okay, cool. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are, when you are finding this. Excuse me, we just flooded, rained a little bit, and I definitely have a leak I need to talk to my property manager about. In any case, happy Scorpio full moon. It is a time of release right now. It is a time of intensity. You may be dealing with other people's intensity in one way or another, regardless of how your internal space is. Your internal space will be quite emotionally active, I believe, but also in a way that is productive and transformational and useful and good. And why the incense gotta be blowing right in my face? What's that about? It's just coming straight to me. You may be a little overwhelmed right now. So I feel like it would be really useful to get some optimistic messages out here. This deck is called the Thriver Cards by Chava. A family friend that put this together. And let's see. Chava Galore, educator, artist, activist, coach, writer, creative, thriver. Yes, coach. And on the back of her card, it says, I commit to embrace you where you are, inspire you to make blank happen, empower you to become a thriver, working together to fill in the blanks. Aw, well, that's a cute message right in there. Working together to fill in the blanks. What do you want to make happen? If you're feeling overwhelmed by the emotional tsunami, the after effects, the aftershock of some things in your life, then you are being asked to focus on what it is that you want to make happen and channel all of that energy into whatever that is for you, because it will be different for all of you. This is a collective message. I wonder if the cards are coming out because I didn't do my intro. Sorry. This is a space of love, y'all. Freya, Folly, Michael, Mary, please be here with me now. Please allow me to see. Please allow me to channel a message for the collective in alignment with the greatest and highest good, balanced with that of the collective at large. Please and thank you, thank you, thank you. What does this one say? Whole as I am. And what's on the bottom of the deck? Oh my goodness, it's written in a spiral. How on earth? Let's see if I can get it. Do the dance of creativity. Aw. Okay. So definitely what I am getting from that. Oh, I put the camera backwards, so I need to look at it. There we go. Can you see that? Whole as I am. And do the dance of creativity. Not really sure how to show that one because again, it's written in a spiral. And what I'm getting from that is that whatever you feel called to make happen in the world right now, you may hold yourself back in some ways or have been holding yourself back in some ways because you feel that the things that you want to make happen are not acceptable, not whole, not do the dance of creativity. Yeah, it's definitely giving a fear of stepping into authenticity, stepping into creativity. It's kind of giving me like that Leo energy of the child and like moving in innocence and inspiration. So you may have some sort of and something going on around a fear of creativity, a fear of expression, a fear of authenticity. So thereby like a fear of intimacy and whatever it is that you want to make happen in the world, you may be holding back from that because of your fear of intimacy, because of your fear of like putting yourself out there in some way. Yeah. Today I thought that it was very appropriate for the Scorpio full moon that we get started on the book 2 of the Ring Cedars of Russia. Let me show you the cover because these are pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of this edition for various reasons, but I mean, visually, they're just very pretty. And the Ringing Cedars of Russia, this book 2 in the series, has the inside page here. It says, way back in ancient times, people living on the earth had the capacity to use wisdom and intelligence far surpassing the abilities of modern man. People at the time of the Earth's pristine origins enjoyed ready access to all the information in the entire database of the universe. And then here we have the dragonfly, and it says, dragonflies symbolize the transcendence of self-created illusions that limit growth and evolution. And the dragonfly is also associated with the Christ, with the cross, with Scorpio, with transformation, with struggle victory, going to hell and back, transforming yourself, but only by releasing and processing and transcending self-centered illusions. There, hell is an illusion, but it's a necessary illusion to help you in your evolution and your growth. And so I thought that was quite interesting that we happened to start with such strong dragonfly symbolism on the Scorpio full moon. Right now, it being the Scorpio full moon, it's like a full circle moment to the Scorpio new moon that I believe occurred in like October of last year or something. So think back to things that were going on in your life around that time, several months ago, and there may be some type of release or some type of manifestation of an intention that you set at that time, or some type of completion of a cycle that began at that time, probably related to scorpionic themes. So we were getting the Leo energy, the Scorpio energy. Right now, we are currently in Taurus as I am filming this live. Taurus season, the sun. And what would the other fixed cross be? Which is interesting because the fixed cross is also something I relate to the dragonfly and the Christ. Um, Aquarius. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. You want to make something happen, and it comes from the inspiration of your soul, your Leo energy, your inner child. There's some inspiration within you that you want to share with the community, right? And Aquarius is the community. And it's also kind of about being an outsider. And so the cool thing about Aquarius is it's like the popular loner energy. It's like being on the outside looking in, but for some reason, like people like you because of that, in spite of that, whatever. And so there's definitely some encouragement here for you to do deep transformative work and to do things that you enjoy, and to do things that come from a place of inspiration from you, and to do things from a place that is fully authentic, regardless of how that aligns with the community around you at present, right? Okay. I think that I'm gonna pull some messages from the tarot or the oracle at the end, but I feel fully satisfied with that little mini read here. Before we get started with the translator's preface, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of the likes, comments, shares, subscribes, all the interaction that helps us to grow. We gained 11 followers this last month, which I thought was a cute number. So I just wanted to share that and say thank you again. This is only going to be a couple of pages, but feel free to grab your tea, your coffee, your water, what have you, if you feel called, a blanket, a knitting project, etc. Translator's preface. Most readers of this present volume will have already marveled at the euphoric and mind-boggling revelations contained in the Gray's first book, Anastasia, published in English translation by Ringing Cedars Press in February 2005. In addition to offering the reader fascinating glimpses into the story of the publication of the first book, this second volume, The Ringing Cedars of Russia, delves deeply into the ethical and metaphysical concepts behind Anastasia's sayings presented so dramatically in the series opener. The chapter titles associated with these concepts range from the mystical, the space of love, to the mysterious, illusory people, to the theological, why nobody can see God, to the downright practical, how to produce healing cedar oil. They all ring a chord of response in the reader's heart and soul, and at the same time call upon the thinker in each reader. And out of the concepts such as these pop up at least as many questions as answers. Questions that may well cause the reader either to re-examine or reaffirm his or her basic concepts of life. My own involvement with the Ringing Cedars of Russia did not pass without a personal effect on me, independently of the actual translation process, in which I take special care to be guided by objective professional standards. In no small measure, the opportunity to work closely with the book not only reconfirmed much of what I already believed, but also helped me rediscover my own faith, allowing me a fresh look at a number of concepts I had been brought up on from childhood, like moving around a three-dimensional object and seeing it from a different angle. It always it also caused me to re-examine the reasons for believing in what I had long believed, including the practical understanding and application of a spiritual approach to healing. And for this I am grateful. Indeed, it is hard for me now to believe that at this time last year, I had never even heard of a Siberian recluse named Anastasia, or a Russian writer named Vladimir Magret, or a Russian-American forester named Leonid Shirashkin, or the mysterious Ringing Cedars. Yet these are names that, since entering my field of awareness in September 2004, have not only become a significant focus of my professional activity as a translator, but also figured prominently in my daily thought, conversations, and life experiences. Within 4 months, I had not only read the first three books of McRae's Bringing Cedars series, but also completed the translation of Book One, Anastasia. And now, less than 4 months after that, the translation of Book Two is ready to go to press. And I have already started work on Book Three. Translating the Cherry Tree chapter brought back a particular memory of my initial read of the three books. This had taken place back in September and October, when our Ottawa weather still allowed a pleasant outdoor afternoon sit on our front porch. With its southwest exposure and view of nothing but the fields and trees across the road, the porch made an ideal spot in which to absorb this brand new literary adventure into the delights of a summer glade in the far off Siberian taiga. The afternoon sun was bright and warm enough to permit me to dispense not only with heavy outer clothing, which had already sprouted on the backs of many pedestrians on downtown sidewalks here, but also with my eyeglasses, which I am accustomed to make use of during any indoor reading. During the same period, I was especially struck by the following incident. On the porch, right in front of where I was sitting, stood a clay pot containing several red geraniums my wife had planted earlier in the year. My reading prompted me to look at them, and one flower in particular, the one closest to me, through new eyes. I began to regard it with warmth and affection. I would even say love every time I saw it. Of course, I had known from news reports about the effect of people's thoughts and attitudes on growing things, but it was not until my reading of Vladimir McGray that I had really seen anything like this in practice. My newfound feelings for the geraniums remained strong through the month of October, and as the days gradually grew colder, most of the flowers in our garden, as well as other geraniums on the same porch, faded and expired for the season. But the geraniums in this pot, especially the one closest to me, refused to fade or even droop with the cooling of the air. Even toward the end of October, when I finished my reading of Book Three, it was still standing proud and just as bright red as when my attention was first drawn to it. And even when I saw it months later, all bent to the ground by winter snows, its vivid red hue had scarcely faded. Two other extraordinary coincidences occurred in our home during this period. In mid November, just after I had finished translating Concert in the Taiga, the chapter in Anastasia, and was working on the description of Anastasia's dance routine in the morning mist in the following chapter, Who Lights a New Star, my wife Susan, my wife Susan, who had not read any of the text at this point, presented me with a poem she had recently written. The poem was entitled Gracefully the Dancer and described a dance of a young girl where all movement conforms to poetry and whose life itself had become a never ending dance. Rather close indeed to McGray's own expression. 3 months later, shortly before the first print run of Anastasia rolled off the presses in February 2005, Susan, an amateur artist as well as a poet, showed me a colored pencil drawing she had just been working on of a nude figure in her 20s with blonde hair, her hands upstretched to the heavens, the parts of her body drawn with colors of nature instead of the flesh, and with a face very similar to the illustration of Anastasia on the cover of the Russian edition. The remarkable thing is that at that point, my wife had not read any of the text about Anastasia, nor even seen a portrait of her, and did not have her consciously in mind as she was doing the drawing. In his afterword, editor Leonard Sharashkin will be sharing with you similar coincidences from his own experience connected with the publication of the English translation of Anastasia in America. These and the hearty welcome of the book in the English-speaking world are indeed reminiscent of the surprising reaction of thousands of readers to the book's initial appearance in Russia in 1996. Hearing the impressions shared with me by the first readers of Anastasia in English, by people from quite different walks of life, I had come to appreciate just how far-reaching and universal Anastasia's message is in its scope. For one thing, it does not limit itself to any formulated creed. It is not a new religion with a new set of doctrines for which we must necessarily abandon whatever we believed in previously in order to follow. It speaks to the hearts and minds of people of many different religions, as well as equally to those who profess no religion at all. It speaks to the hearts and minds of many scholars and students of the physical sciences, especially those who are reaching out to explore the more holistic dimensions of their fields and to find answers that lift them beyond the confines of their specialist training and into an understanding of how their investigations relate to the universal aspects of man, nature, the cosmos, and even God. All four of those are capitalized, BTW. In addition to a deeper exploration of these universal concepts, Book 2 offers an in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at how Book 1 finally came to be written and published. Like all great mind-stirring works of history, the birth throes attending its emergence into light came at a considerable price to the author. Just how high the price was, indeed, the whole chain of extraordinary circumstances that led from the wilds of Siberia to the book's appearance on Moscow street corners and its eventual inclusion in national bestseller lists. As part of the fascinating adventure you will now share with the author as you journey from the mental heights of a taiga glade to the urban depths of Russia's capital city, passing indeed through the valley of the shadow of death en route, along with a surprising encounter in a completely different tree-lined setting, and a final stop in the foothills of the Caucasus Mountains for yet another amazing discovery. While the book's message is indeed universal in its scope and applicable to individuals the world over, there is no escaping the fact that its original expression, in terms of not only words but concepts, draws in significant measure upon the Russian tradition. And this fact, as with its predecessor in the series, presented its share of challenges to the English translator. Two of these deserve particular mention here. First, the Russian word sviatini, derived from sviatoy, equaling holy or sacred, has no direct equivalent in English. It refers not only to holy places such as sanctuaries, tabernacles, shrines, and crypts, but also to sacred objects, including icons, statues, and relics, sacred texts like the Bible or the Quran, and even trees. Having the same root as the Russian word for light, svet, sviat, sviatini, may also be used to designate sacred concepts such as spirit or grace. None of these alternatives by itself would be sufficient to compass the range of the original Russian term, since most of its occurrences relate to what we call locations. It was eventually decided to use the awkward but more or less accurate combination sacred sites as a general equivalent and employ alternative translations where the context required. Another Russian word whose translation engendered considerable discussion was pervoistoki, derived from two basic roots, perv, meaning first, primary, or primal, and istok, origin, source, spring, as in describing the headwaters of a river, for example. The compound term, especially as used in this book, unmistakably conveys the sense of a pure, uncontaminated source, and this eventually led to the selection of the particular combination, pristine origins. Other specific translation challenges are documented where appropriate in the footnotes. Again, as in Book 1, the footnotes are also used to give background information on specific people, places, and events unfamiliar to most English speakers. And now, dear readers, I need only invite you once again to find yourselves a comfortable reading place, preferably one shielded from the possible intrusion of artificial sounds. A quiet outdoor setting would be ideal. And join with me in exploring the second installment of the author's adventure through both the geographical space of Russia's vast distances and the mental space of the spiritual essence of the universe as revealed by the ringing cedars of Russia. Ottawa, Canada, April 2005, John Woodsworth. That was very fun. I did not know the root of the prefix perv until today. As well as there's so much talking here about October. Like they were talking about October a lot. So that's very interesting. He's clearly like a Bible person. I think I'm gonna pull some biblical tarot for you guys. That feels right. And also, they translated that term into sacred sites. I'm going to take the sacred sites oracle cards. Yeah. Fantastic. And as far as the footnotes go, I usually don't read them because there's so many. It would just take twice as long. It's ridiculous. But he's right. There are a lot of concepts that, sometimes you watch a movie, you read a book, and you hear something, and you just kind of have to use context clues and act like, you know what you're doing. So feel free to let me know if you ever have any specific questions, and then I can dig into those footnotes specifically for you. You know what I mean? The first chapter, chapter 1, is going to be called Alien or Man, and it's very long, so I will be doing that when I have time to sit down with y'all for a long time. This is so exciting. This is such a good one. Okay, Scorpio, roses, sacred sites. I feel like there was a couple of other things I picked up from that, but I guess just pristine origins, right? Hervisto. Yeah, a lot of people find that to be kind of like pretentious or kind of elitist or like judgmental, but that's not really what it is. It's a reference to light, to life, to purity that's the word purity has been so defiled by our culture in America, and it's unfortunate. So we all have to work through that a little bit, right? I am gonna pull the Sacred Sites card first, and I'm pretty sure I'm not even gonna read all of the info on it, but I might post it in the community tab. If I don't, and you would like that, please feel free to remind me. Got a lot going on right now. Holy Child, Holy Spirit, Holy Father, Holy Mother, please be here with me now. Please allow me to see Mount Fuji and Giza. Holy heck! I'm going to keep both of those. And though I am not going to read out the entire guidebook to y'all, I am going to show you these images because they're cool and pretty. In case you don't look at them later. Yes. That's funny, I've been getting a whole lot of Ankh lately. And it's like going through the eye of the needle. The Ankh is like the uterus, and the like needle with the thread is like the sperm. And so it's like everything in life is about threading the needle, and it's not easy. And that is the sin, right? You're shooting your shot at a very specific, very small target, and it's a challenge to get there. And so that's why it takes us a lot of time and practice and failure and learning and processing to hit that bullseye, right? And sometimes, it can be discouraging, but that's why we need faith and patience, and that could be very useful right now. So I will post these if I get the chance. And then let's see if we can get a little message for y'all from the Biblical Tarot that may be useful for the collective tuning in here today, or whenever you find this video. I'm sure most of that is going to be after the fact, once I start getting into the actual chapters. Holy Child, Holy Spirit, Holy Father, Holy Mother, please be here with me now. Please allow me to see. Please and thank you, thank you, thank you. Please and thank you, thank you, thank you. Justice, the Ten Commandments, Queen of Grains, Proverbs 31, woman. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. Proverbs 31:18. You are receiving justice, or you will be receiving justice. You're in the process of receiving justice, and you will see that your trading is profitable and that your energy and your inspiration and your faith and your light does not go out at night, your ember does not go out when it gets cold and windy, when it's dark outside, when challenges come. You maintain that light within, you maintain that currency within, you maintain that generation from within. And when you maintain that creative life force and that spark and that light of your soul in the moments when you're tested and you're challenged, that is what brings you this justice, that brings you this stability. That is what you have to learn and practice in order to come into a space of balance. There may be some sort of Libra energy here for some of y'all. Okay. And then we have the High Priestess, Mary Magdalene. What did the book say about specifically what the term perv or the prefix perv meant? First, primary, primal, the mother. Mary Magdalene, the perv, the mother, the womb. Okay. Nine of Grains, Queen of Sheba, visits Solomon, and she gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices, and precious stones. 1 Kings 10:10. Nine of Grains, Queen of Sheba, visits Solomon. She gave Solomon gold, spices, jewels. It's interesting that they chose that verse on this one, because Nine of Grains is, like self-sufficiency, physical abundance. And King Solomon has everything through maneuvering, manipulation, force, magic, aligning with demonic forces and any forces that'll get him what he wants, right? But also very wise, knows a lot about a lot of things. He's got a position of power, he's got lots of wives, he's got lots of influence. But he still needs something from her. The Queen of Sheba, is that Egyptian? Let me know down below if you remember the history. Help remind me. And then 5 of Candles, Joseph and his jealous brothers. Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. Genesis 37:27. Yeah. You have to follow your intuition. You have to go by the light of the moon. The moon is the thing of duality. A lot of solar traditions think of it as a negative, dark, dangerous, bad thing, and the sun and the moon are the duality, but that's not true. The sun is the pure light, the moon is the duality, and the moon holds the light, the moon reflects the light. The moon reflects the sun's light and reminds you that it exists. It's not direct, the light's not coming at you direct, but it's being reflected so that you can remember. You can see from a different perspective that the sun always rises again. And that is what a full moon is a reminder that the sun always rises again. It'll come back. It's dark now, but if we can make use of this dark time with a positive mindset and an understanding that the sun will come back out tomorrow, then we're going to be a lot better off, and we're not going to dig ourselves into holes while we are in the dark, seeing shadows and being paranoid, but instead to spend our time in the dark under the moon in prayer and meditation and remaining in connection to that light within us. Is stock, origin, source, spring. I'm getting perv as the womb and Istok as the mind, or like the mother and the father. Pristine origins. The whole. The mother is the whole. The mother is the moon. And we come from the father. And we come from the father because the father cut the mother, the father opened up the mother, the father divided the mother. And that was the origin of who we are in duality. And so that's why it is the responsibility of the father, the responsibility of the men to go through a very serious process of duality, from being the most beastly child reptilian energy possible to the most spiritually aligned and integrity filled, leaders and elders and priests, people that hold the line. It's not gender specific necessarily. Like you don't have to be a mother to connect to that. But I do believe that when people are born with female physiology, they have a tendency to be more connected to being a child and being a leader at the same time to different degrees throughout, it's like dynamic. And men are different. When we went from women to men, we started to have a decision to make. Oh man, I just lost track of my train of thought. I didn't eat breakfast, so take care of yourself. Prepare. There are going to be important things coming up in the future, so be, kind and nourishing to yourself. But oh yes, so men don't give their blood to the earth. Men don't self-sacrifice. It's an automatic. Unless you intervene technologically, it is an automatic that a female human is self-sacrificial, brings fertility, like gives up part of herself, goes through this death process in order to create rebirth. And men are not born with this self-sacrificial transformative energy. So they're not dynamic, they are dualistic in broad strokes. And because they don't go through this physically embodied process of self-sacrifice outside of the context of free will, that was the fall. That was the fall. And it's not a bad thing. It's bringing men into the depths of hell, forcing them to choose this transformative process. It is beautiful and fantastic and holy that there are women doing this. Regardless, with or without the process of making that choice. It's what makes them mysterious and like. But when you're born into this extraordinary reptilian space, and it requires sometimes for you to submit to a higher authority, like an elder, like a teacher, like a leader, like a mentor, and putting your pride and your ego aside and knowing, I am not the whole. I am not the whole. I'm just a branch. I am just a tool. I am just a part. That is the lesson of man, lowercase m. You can choose it or you cannot choose it. I think there are lessons to be learned from both. But I'm very grateful to men for being put in this position and like going through this process of reclamation. Because we don't want a parent who is going to give us everything, but only because we're like its little puppets. Because that's not really love. So we've been given the opportunity to make love a choice. Female physiology just loves the earth regardless. It is not a choice. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And there are things you learn from that. And I mean, both of these perspectives is why we need people to live lives in this physically embodied, very different energetic process. Because they're both important, but you kind of can't experience both of them fully in the flesh in one lifetime. And that is the part of all of us that has to make a choice. Men and women have the mind and the womb. We all have the mind and the womb. We all carry all the archetypes within us, regardless of our physical reality, because of the mind. And the mind is how we transform from that reptilian extreme into leaders, into creators, into trunks of trees. I'm going to show you all these cards because they're very pretty. Let's see if there's some glare on it. So here is the Justice and the Queen of Grains. 11 and 13 may be significant. I know we were talking about 11 earlier. And if I remember correctly, I think 13 is associated with the Death card, something like that. And then we have Mary Magdalene, Knight of Grains, and 5 of Candles here. I definitely see that there are, energies that will come against you, and jealousy, and competition. But you have what people need. And so you've got to transmute the fear of the jealousy and the competition, because you have what people need. And so express your magic. Express that part of you that is whole within, that feminine energy, that child, that mother baby that lives inside of you, and birth it into the world and express it. Because whether these are physically embodied babies, whether these are your creations, the earth needs it. The earth needs you. See you next time. Love, light, peace, and personal responsibility. Have a great day. 11:11 on the clock. 49:49 on the live.